Sorry
All
about the
right.
confusion, man. This has been. I got everything else in the magazine. It's like down packed. I swear to you, everything else is down packed, ready to go. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add this as a. I'm going to put your ad in the magazine, and there's going to be a link they're going to click to go to this video. Right? I'm confirmed that it is recording, and we're gonna do it like this. What up? What up? It's your boy coming back at you. G'd Up Magazine, and we have a very special guest here today for the second time. Y'all just didn't see the first time. But I know this interview is gonna be well worth it, man, because anything worth going through it for has to be worth it. And for those people out there that are looking at this video right now and they may not know who you are, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Chef Carl Redding. I'm from Harlem, New York, born and raised. And I'm a chef. I've been chefing it up and baking it up for over 40 years now. And
40 years, man. Woo.
yeah, actually more than that. I've been baking and cooking since I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah, and I'm
Wow.
57 now.
Hey, you look good. You looking good, man. You looking
So
good. Black don't crack. That's what they say, though.
so if there are any young, beautiful ladies, no, let me stop.
Hey, man, get your back on, man. The
No,
ladies,
let me stop.
ladies
Let me
watch.
stop.
Hey, yeah, you know what? It was good that we did talk yesterday, man, because it put a lot of things in perspective. And I was thinking last night, I was like, man, I need to talk to this dude like every week. This needs to be like a thing because you have so many stories and so much to offer. And I want to get started by you mentioned that your earliest age cooking that you can remember is 8 years old. And
Well,
what were you?
the first time I ever uh, actually cooked or baked, I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Grandmother in Alabama taught me, and actually I named my first restaurant after my grandmother, Amy Ruth. She taught me how to make and bake biscuits.
Wow.
So that's my first recollection of
Now, were they
cooking.
putting lard? Were they putting lard in the biscuits back then, man? You know
Yeah,
the Frisco.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Back then.
They use lard, and that's what they use. That's all I knew at that time. But I remember when I went back home, we didn't use lard. My mother was using, like you said, Crisco.
Yeah, the Crisco. That's right. But that
Yep.
lard give it a different flavor. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's pork. It's rendered pork fat. So well, you a chef, so
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
the
There's different type of fat. Like duck fats are good too to use in bacon and everything.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
don't know that.
yeah.
But yeah, man, to be learning that at such a young age, and then I remember yesterday we were talking. At the age of 14, you were working at a restaurant or something like that, wasn't it?
Yes, yes. I was working at a restaurant in Harlem, in a section of Harlem called Sugar Hill. It was called Wilson's Bakery and Restaurant.
Wait a minute, you from Sugar Hill?
No, I was born in the Polo Grounds. The Polo Grounds was famous for the Rucker tournaments. The
Oh,
basketball.
Rucker Park tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the development, the projects that I was raised and brought up in. But I spent most of my up on Sugar Hill, and that's where the restaurant was, the restaurant and bakery, Wilson's Bakery and Restaurant.
Wilson's Bakery and Restaurant. And then you were about 14 then.
No, well, actually, I started working in the restaurant when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 8 working up on the hill at Wilson's Bakery and Restaurant.
I remember you mentioning something about McViters.
Yeah, that's later in my I guess I had by that time I was an adult working. I had just gotten out of the military, and I took a job working at this restaurant in New Jersey, Bloomfield, New Jersey, called McVeter's Eating Places. And by the way, you know, I couldn't remember the food that they were selling before I took over. It was a Scottish restaurant.
Scottish, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did a lot of bangers and mash and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they had Scottish leek soup, you know, stuff like that. And see, they didn't, I guess, do their research at that time because nobody knew what Scottish food was, and nobody was gonna, you know, venture out to try it. And you know,
I always put it with Irish food. I was like,
it's basically the same,
the same.
or European food. Just say European food, you know.
Yeah. Now going back a little bit, at what point did you decide to join the military?
Well, I was in high school and graduating from high school. I didn't want to go to college at the time. Um, and I wanted to get out of New York. I wanted to get out of Harlem. So the most logical thing for me to do was to, well, actually, I sought information and I was trying to explore how to become a merchant marine. And that didn't quite work out. I was discouraged from doing that. The reason why I ended up going into the military is because, and this is a crazy but true story. The Sunday before I went to sign up, I saw that movie, An Officer and a Gentleman. That's what motivated me to go into the service. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know,
Louis Gossett was in there, wasn't
yeah, yeah. Louis Gossett and I forget the other guy, the officer. But anyway, that was the movie that I went to see, and that's what gave me a different outlook or you know on something else that I could do besides going to college after high school.
So you weren't really interested in going to the military to cook at that point?
No, no. That movie prompted me to explore. You know,
what was it about the movie, Chef? You got to tell me, like, what part of the movie prompted you to want to go there?
Well, it was just something that I didn't know about. You know, I got to see a different light. You know, the officer and the gentleman, the boot camp, and all of that stuff. You know, yeah.
That's good because I watched Full Metal Jacket, and that's what kept me out of the military.
Oh, okay.
When I saw that,
you know what? I never saw that movie. I never saw that.
Yeah.
I never
saw that movie. Yeah, it's a classic.
No.
Classic. But yeah, that's so. You're in the military this time. You're joining. Now, did you volunteer to be in the canteen, or did the culinary part of the military?
Yeah, yeah.
And you volunteered based on your previous experience with being in
because
the
yeah, I knew that I would excel in food service based on my experience growing up as a child to you know, graduating from high school.
Now, what was it like being a chef in the military? Because I know being a civilian in certain restaurants, the higher the level you go, the more intense it is. You know, and what was the intensity like working in the military as a chef?
It was intense because number one, well, we had to prepare and serve 25,000 meals. I take that back. We serve each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 25,000 meals to 25,000 soldiers. And so that's 75,000 meals a day.
Every day?
Every day. So it was intense. It was really intense.
How many chefs how many culinary staff do you think it take?
I don't remember. It was
10,000.
Probably in the neighborhood of 50, you know, but
yeah.
It was the military staff, you know, so, you know, you had mess people that worked in the you know, in the dish room. It was a huge operation, huge operation.
Now, from that experience, now everything was made from What was it actually made from scratch there? Or did y'all have
Everything
to,
was, at that time, everything was made from scratch.
so y'all were peeling potatoes and all this?
Yes, everything from scratch. Everything.
Wow.
Everything. Bakery items, everything from scratch. Everything.
That brings up something too, because when I was researching you, I actually came across you were actually doing an endorsement for some knives or something like that.
Yeah.
The Japanese knives. Were you ever stationed in Japan?
I was stationed in Japan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
Okay.
that was when I was in the military. When I
Yeah.
endorsed that company, I had my first restaurant by that time.
Wow. And that's what I wanted to get. This is what I wanted everyone to understand the magnitude of what you're about to tell us now. Like, so you're coming out of the military, and the job that you got out of the military was McBeaters, correct?
Right, that's correct.
And you were doing
And
big.
other jobs as a, you know, I worked in a couple of bakeries during that time as well.
And coming out of the military and being so far ahead of everybody, because I understand what it's like to cook at that level with that intensity, man. And just the repetition of it all, you get good just by repetition, man, doing it over and over again. So you're coming out of the military, going into civilian life. Did you realize that you were a little bit ahead of everybody else when you came out of the military?
I did realize that because, well, I realized that I was ahead of the people in the military because of the years of experience that I had, working in the bakery and in the restaurant. So, and then after coming out of the different stages in my life, after coming out of the military, I knew I was ahead of people because I had that experience. And then going into my own restaurant, I had the experience of the military and the childhood experience growing up in the food service industry. And then after that episode in my life, I ended up taking a corporate job working for a company called Sodexo. So, and that gave me a huge more, a bigger edge because now I had corporate experience,
Yeah.
which I had never had before.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And at what point did you decide that you wanted to, step away from working for someone else and going into business for yourself?
Well, at what point you said the point where at that point was when I was working for somebody else, I decided to that it was time for me to do my own thing.
Because you were telling me about a restaurant you worked for that you were actually managing 4 sites.
That was the McVitie.
That was, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember you telling me that story.
that was that restaurant. Yeah, McVitie's. That was right out of the.
And right after that is when you started your own restaurant.
No. I remember I worked in civil rights for 10 plus years, and it was after working in the civil rights arena. That's when I decided that I had had enough, and I would do my own thing, and that's when I opened up my own restaurant.
Now,
And
during your stint with the civil rights, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you still cooking during that time? Because I'm thinking
no,
you were still. Oh,
no,
so you weren't even. You were exclusive.
I was
So
what?
you were an exclusive. Like, well, first of all, people don't know, but you were actually an assistant to Reverend Al Sharp.
I was the assistant, his personal assistant, and I was the chief of staff of the National Action Network.
And this had nothing to do with like you weren't cooking or anything at this time.
Absolutely not. Reverend Sharpton didn't even know that I could cook,
Well, how did you get in contact with Reverend Sharpton to
A
even?
friend of mine's introduced me to him at one of Reverend Sharpton's rallies.
Wow. And just from that meeting.
Yeah, that's how I met him. Yes, sir.
But it's amazing that you're saying it, but a lot of people meet people like that. They
A
don't
lot
leave
of people.
a lasting impression on them that's gonna make them be like, hey, I want you to be my right hand man. You know
No,
what
no.
I'm
I had to work towards that, you know.
Okay.
It wasn't that easy. It wasn't it wasn't that simple. I had to work towards that, which I did, you know. And he's, you know, it wasn't, listen, it at that time when I worked for him, he didn't have a lot of smart people around him. And I was that person that had all of that experience that we just talked about,
Yeah.
military experience.
Understand.
I had a passport. He didn't even have people around him that had a passport, let alone a driver's license. You know, so I was that person that just came onto the scene that, okay. So I started out as his driver. You know, he had these cats around him that didn't have a license. This one guy crashed, I think, three rental cars. He used to rent cars at that time, you know. So you know, I don't even really want to get into Sharpton
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. But how did that experience? But that was pretty intense. Like what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
But
And it's
how did that experience then lead to you owning your own restaurant?
well, remember I had enough of the civil rights. That wasn't my calling. You know, it was something that I enjoyed doing and I was good at, you know, assisting Reverend Sharpton at that time, you know. So it wasn't I knew that wasn't something that I would be doing the rest of my life. What I knew how to do was bake and cook and run a restaurant because I had worked in my, you know, Wilson's Bakery and Restaurant for so many years, from childhood to adulthood, you know, going into out of high school, you know, going into the military.
Wow.
Yeah, so we talking 8 years old until I was, I guess, what, 18 years old? Yeah, 18.
You kind of just found your way back into what you love to do anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing I knew how to do.
And you
Yeah.
started off with one location?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, that's how I started out.
Hey, I don't know. You was rolling with Al Sharpton and all the boys and everything.
No, no, no,
You know
no.
how big
I'm,
you
I'm
was doing it.
not like you, where you probably have 10 restaurants. You know,
Oh, please, man. When I get to the restaurants, you'll know it because you'll be right there with me.
yeah.
Right, I tell you that, man. So, what was that experience like, man? As far as like just the feeling of owning your own restaurant.
Oh, it was a great experience. You know, uh, remember, you know, I worked most of my childhood, so that was what, 10 years in the restaurant business. So it was a feeling of joy. That's the only thing I knew what to do, except for my time working for Sharpton, 10 years with him.
And you had
So
to actually be, I know you're a good cook, but you had to be really good because you still have celebrities coming up to you remembering your restaurants and things
yeah,
like that when you own the restaurant, man. So I'm like,
right.
man, so did you meet a lot of influential people during that time that you were?
Yeah, a lot of them. Yes, yes, absolutely. They all came to my restaurant, from politicians to athletes to entertainers, and
Wow.
and regular Joes and regular Marys. You know, everybody supported Amy Ruth Restaurant
And where was this low? Where was your first location?
in Harlem on 116th Street between Lenox and 7th Avenue.
All right. Do you know Marcus Samuelson,
Yeah, I know him.
the Red Rooster?
Yeah,
He's in Harlem, right?
yes, he is.
But he just like recently opened his restaurant a few years ago.
Yeah, he's been open, I think, 7, 8 years, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so yeah, because I got his book one time. He has some interesting recipes in it. Very interesting. I mean, as far as like his choice of menu, and I was impressed with that, man. Does Harlem have a like? Have you been back recently?
I have not.
Okay, so I can't really. I was
Let,
kind
let,
of curious
let,
about
me,
the
let, me,
culinary scene.
let me put this on the record. Since you mentioned Marcus Samuel,
Yeah.
I'll run circles around him. That's all I'll say. I'll run circles around him.
So you know what? And I think a lot of chefs believe that too. And I'm one of them too. Like as far
I'm
as
telling
like, but
I'm not just saying that.
those guys, I know you can. I already know. I know you the truth, man. I already know. But those guys, sometimes in the culinary field, I hate to say it, but it's not. You can be the best cook in the world, but you don't get along with, like, you don't play the game or get involved in the politics of the business. It's hard to move up in that industry to get to that executive chef position, man. For a while.
Right.
You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So those
Yeah.
guys, it's like sometimes I wonder how they got that big without being that skilled. They might have good technical skills, but as far as flavor wise,
Exactly. Exactly.
how do they get that far?
Somebody like him, see, he was raised in the white
Sweden.
food service world.
Yeah.
So, quite naturally, those people in power, will give somebody like him a chance. He's well spoken. I think he's from some Ethiopia. Yeah, from Ethiopia. Well spoken. He has a good story about being adopted by
Yeah.
Swedish parents or wherever they're from. So that's a good story, a good
It's a good story.
story. And like I said, I will run rings around him.
Have you ever met any other these celebrity chefs that be out here?
Most all of them, yeah.
You met
Most
them
all,
before?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
They know. So do they know like how good you are at your skills and everything?
They know, yeah. Because I've been on a lot of the TV shows and all of that stuff. They know.
Wow, you've been like on Food Network and things like that?
I've been on Food Network many, many times.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
know.
you didn't do your homework,
I didn't
Jonathan.
do that much at this. What shows were you on the Food Network, John? Because I want to go back and look at it.
Did a lot of stuff with Emerald Lagasse. Uh, I've done a lot of shows. I've done the Chew several times. There used to be a guy. What was this guy's name? I forgot his name. A black guy from London. He was a chef that had a national show. I've been on the Conan O'Brien show. I've been on a lot of shows, man. The
Wow.
Today Show with Al Roker. I've been on a lot of things. A lot of things.
Wow. So you all throughout all those years and everything, and I have to bring it up. Some people may not know if they don't follow you, but you ended up learning that you had diabetes at one point.
I didn't have diabetes.
Oh, you didn't have.
Yeah, I did not have diabetes. The VA misdiagnosed me with diabetes.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's a long story. I told you
Yeah, you
yesterday.
can't really talk.
Yeah, can't
But what,
really.
what I wanted to get into really was, you ended up having actually, become an amputee because of that
Yeah,
incident, and that must have changed your life drastically.
it did. It did. My whole life was changed.
Wow. But
Yeah.
you were able to kind of work through it.
Oh yeah. Well, look, I'm talking to you.
I know, that's what I'm saying, man. I told you. I told you the magazine almost didn't make it, and I was researching you, and I was like, man, ain't no way in the world I can stop. And that's why I didn't stop again after yesterday. We had that really good interview. And I'm looking, I'm happy, I'm walking around, I'm like, this is like one of the best interviews I ever did. And I was like, just let me find the recording. And I'm looking, and I was like, man, you know what? Any other time, Chef, I would have just spazzed out. I would have just, I would have lost it. And I almost did lose it.
It goes both ways, Jonathan. And the reason why I say that is because if I didn't feel as though I had a nice conversation with you, I would have gave you all kind of reasons not to do it.
And I was so happy, man. I was so nervous. I was like, he gonna think I'm so unprofessional and all this, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
We had a good time. Things like that happen, So, and I'm glad that you called me back and we're doing this interview now again.
And just to close it off a little bit, I know we had a little bit more conversation in depth into you about knowing a lot of celebrities, and when you got into your crisis or your situation with your legs and everything, that you didn't hear from a lot of those people. And I know you don't have to go into it again now, but that was kind of a little disappointing for me to hear. But even past that, I noticed that you were an advocate for the VA now.
No, I'm not an advocate for the VA. I self-advocate for myself.
Oh, you self-advocate.
Yeah, I'm not an advocate for the VA. And what I try to do by self-advocating is to teach other, hopefully to teach other vets that they have the power and the opportunity. They have to give themselves the opportunity to self-advocate, for themselves.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of vets, when they see me on CBS or whatever station that I'm on, I just hope that it gives them the encouragement and inspiration to be able to do the same thing that I'm doing, to speak up for themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. And we cannot leave this show without you telling the people your milestone that you told me about your restaurant in a casino.
Oh yeah,
That you were this is amazing.
yeah. Well, when I owned and operated Amy Ruth restaurant, I had an opportunity, and the African American Indians in Connecticut gave me an opportunity to bring Amy Ruth to their casino, the Foxwoods Casino and Resort, and which made me the first African American to ever own and operate a restaurant or a business in a casino in the world.
So, or a business at all, any type
When
like a gift
was the
shop.
last time?
You
When
were
was
the
the last?
first one.
When was the last time you went to a casino?
Man, I used to live in St. Louis, so it was
Okay,
probably
well,
3 years ago, and I
those
never saw
casinos.
none of us owning nothing.
No, no, that's what I'm saying. Black folks don't own nothing in a casino.
Wow.
Nothing to this day. To this day, if it look, I'll challenge you or your listeners, your readers, um, if they can find a name of African American owned business in a casino, let us know.
Wow, man, that is amazing. That is amazing. The world, and I used to always look at pictures of you and see your cooking and everything. You used to go live sometimes, and I would watch you go live. You
Yeah,
used to cook and everything, man. I was like, you always had a smile on your face, and you always gave out this energy that yeah, baby, like you know what I'm saying? That's you all day long, man. That's you all day long, and sometimes you do things and you don't know how much you inspire other people. Like me being an African American chef, and there is a difference. People don't want to realize that. Like in this industry, we have to be 110% better than the next person all the time. I mean, that's in everything, but specific
I'm,
to that. So, but
look,
people like you is an inspiration.
I'm just trying to be you and G'd
You are
G'd.
G'd up. That's why we called
I
you.
say G'd up.
Hey man, I want to thank you again. We definitely got to chop it up again.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you doing this again for me, and we will be back in contact about that event we was talking about, bro.
I'm saluting you right now, sir.
All right, Chef, take it easy.
God bless you, man.
All
G'd
right, you
up.
too.
Up.
All right, stay G.